The rain came down in sheets that night, swallowing the crooked alleys of the city in a curtain of cold water, making neon signs smear across puddles like melted colors. But Ethan didn't feel the chill. He was locked in the stillness of a man on a mission, one hand buried in his coat, the other adjusting the plain black mask hiding his face, his every step pulling him deeper into the underbelly where the forgotten were sold and the wicked grew fat. The abandoned factory before him looked dead from the outside, but its boarded windows leaked slivers of light, and the heavy bass thump of music inside betrayed its life, so he moved like a shadow, showing the forged invitation he had stolen from a courier 2 nights ago. Walking past guards who didn't see the fury in his eyes, the moment he entered, his senses filled with smoke, perfume, and greed, the scent of men and women who had traded their humanity for power. And above them, on a stage draped in red velvet, the auctioneer stood with a silver cane and a smile that could have sold poison as wine, calling out numbers in a voice as smooth as a serpent's hiss. Ethan's pulse quickened when he saw the first item wheeled in, not gold, not art, but a child, small wrists bound in iron cuffs, hair plastered to his face with sweat, wide eyes darting across the masked crowd like an animal trying to find an opening in a cage. And Ethan felt that familiar burn in his chest, the same one that had driven him through deserts and battlefields, the unshakable sense that evil should never walk unpunished. But this was different. This boy wasn't just another victim. There was something in the tilt of his chin, in the curve of his jaw, something Ethan couldn't place yet, but it gnawed at him as though his blood itself whispered recognition. The bidding began, voices slicing through the haze, men raising hands casually as if they were haggling for a painting, women laughing behind jeweled masks, and Ethan's knuckles whitened as he forced himself to join the game, his voice deep and controlled as he lifted the price higher and higher, ignoring the venomous stares from those he outbid, until the hall buzzed with irritation at this silent intruder who refused to lose, until the auctioneer's smirk wavered and, with a sharp rap of the gavel, declared the boy his. The moment was short-lived, because Ethan knew the hardest part wasn't buying, it was leaving. And as he stepped forward, taking the boy's shaking hand, feeling the bones fragile under his grip, he whispered, "Stay close, don't look back," then shoved the handler aside and cut through the smoke-filled crowd, his mask slipping as someone shouted in alarm. Guards closing in, batons drawn, but Ethan moved like a storm breaking loose, fists and elbows slamming into ribs, his body a weapon honed by years of combat. Pulling the boy through corridors that smelled of rust and oil, bullets cracking past them, sparks flying as they ricocheted off steel beams, the exit looming ahead like salvation carved in darkness. The rain welcomed them with icy hands as they burst into the night, their pursuers' shouts muffled by the storm. The boy stumbling but clutching Ethan's coat with the desperation of someone who had been drowning too long, and Ethan, breath ragged, looked down into those eyes again. Eyes too old for such a young face, and before he could ask the questions clawing at his throat, the boy whispered, voice trembling yet certain, "Uncle Ethan." And the soldier froze mid-step, heart slamming like a hammer, thunder ripping across the sky as he stared at the boy who should not have known his name, who should not have existed in this nightmare, and with lightning casting them in blinding light. The child's lips trembled into words that shattered the night. "My mother told me you'd come for me." The storm had not relented, its fury lashing the streets as Ethan dragged the boy through twisting alleys toward a forgotten safe house he once used in his soldiering days, a hollow shell of brick and memory, the kind of place where ghosts linger, but men are safe for a few hours. Inside, the single light bulb flickered to life, casting shadows on peeling wallpaper and broken furniture, and Ethan, chest heaving, finally turned to face the boy, kneeling way, so his eyes met his. Eyes that mirrored a face he had long buried, eyes that belonged to Claire, his sister, the only family he had left, the one he had failed to protect years ago when the world pulled them apart. His voice cracked as he asked, "How do you know me?" And the boy, trembling but resolute, reached into his satchel, pulling out a small, worn envelope, edges frayed by years of clutching, rain smearing the ink, but not enough to hide the name scrawled across it. Ethan. And Ethan's hand shook as he opened it, his eyes devouring the faded words written in Claire's familiar script, words that spoke of danger, of running, of enemies more powerful than Ethan could imagine, words that begged him, if he ever found the boy, to keep him safe, because the child carried not only her blood, but also a secret, one that the syndicate would kill to silence. Ethan's heart twisted with rage and sorrow, memories of Claire's laughter in the summer fields flashing before him, of the promise he had made as a young man to always protect her, a promise broken by war and distance, now reignited by this boy's existence. But before Ethan could ask more, before he could even process the storm raging inside him, headlights cut through the cracked window, sweeping across the room like searchlights, and the boy gasped, clutching his arm, whispering, "They found us," as the hum of engines grew louder. Doors slamming, footsteps crunching against gravel, the unmistakable rhythm of men who hunted without mercy. Ethan's soldier instincts roared back to life, his hand gripping the pistol at his side, eyes scanning every exit, ears tuned to the whispers of the night, and he turned to the boy, voice low but fierce, "Stay behind me, no matter what." The door rattled once, twice, then exploded inward under the weight of a boot, and shadows spilled into the room, armed and merciless, faces hidden under masks of steel. But Ethan stood his ground, every nerve alive, every muscle ready, because this was no longer just a mission. No longer just vengeance against a faceless evil. This was blood. This was family. And the boy's wide, terrified eyes reminded him of everything he had already lost. And just as the men advanced, weapons raised, the boy's small voice cut through the chaos like a blade, trembling but burning with conviction. "Is she still alive, Uncle Ethan?" "I know it." And the world seemed to stop for a heartbeat, Ethan's mind crashing with disbelief, hope, and fury all at once. Before the storm outside screamed louder, the door splintered further, and the battle for truth truly began.